Olá, bom dia. Carl Munton here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream, YouTube channel and podcast. Great to be with you today. Terça, isn't it? Terça-feira here in Portugal. I'm in Anadia in the Aveiro district. I'm delighted to have as my guest in a little while, Ivan Schmada from Relish Portugal. Look, your foodie friend in Portugal there on the screen. So all things to do with food and drink. We had our Portugal week, didn't we, last week, looking at Portuguese bread. And on that starter screen there, if I just remove myself again for a moment, you'll see D in Aveiro. Let me just show you that wonderful loaf. That, my friends, is a no-knead bread made famous by Paul Hollywood, he of the British Bake Off and Soggy Bottoms and things like that, although we shouldn't be talking about that this early in the morning, should we? But no-knead bread from our very own, our family's Avo, our surrogate grandmother, Nanny D. We went over for a lovely Sunday afternoon, and D said, "Do you want to try this bread?" It looked like something bought from an artisan bakery in Lisboa, I have to say. The crumb, as I think the experts say, was delightful. The crust was amazing. It looked beautiful. And more importantly, it tasted fabulous. So we do have a recipe for no-knead bread. And we're talking a little bit about our wine selection for Thursday, an organic red, which we're really excited about. And will be led by Gary Austin. Gary Rosé Austin on Thursday, although it's not rosé, it's organic tinto from the Symington. I suppose it's an empire, really, isn't it? Specifically, it's the Altano Duro Biologico red that we'll be trying. So more about that later. And actually, the Symington backstory is absolutely fascinating. But principally today, after I've had a quick look at the weather, Ivan from Relish is here. To talk about all things Portugal, food and drink and the delights, and celebrating 3 years in Portugal, not unlike myself in a couple of days' time. So we'll find out why Ivan loves Portugal so much as well. Weather then in Lisboa, where I believe Ivan is this morning, 20 degrees and partly cloudy. 27 it's rising to today. And a cloudy week, and that rain that we were talking about, merciful rain. Hopefully it will go to that horrific fire that you may have seen on the news in Proença Nova in central part of the country. An incredible effort of at the moment, I'm looking at fogos.pt, and there are 1,019 firemen and women, 339 vehicles, and 4 aircraft dealing with that fire that has been people say raging, don't they? I think it's fair to use that description. It has been raging since, where are we? 2 days ago in the afternoon of the 13th, and still ongoing. So Godspeed and safety and all good things to get that fire, down to its absolute minimum, get it put out over there. And if you want to keep in touch with any fire risks around the country in Portugal, you go to fogos.pt, Fogos.pt for that. So you're back to the weather then. Rain is coming. Certainly by Thursday, it's forecast in Lisbon, and for a few days actually. And I think quite a few people now are quite ready for some rain. Porto, 19 degrees and clear at the moment, rising to 25, and it'll be 25 throughout the week pretty much, and rain coming again on Thursday in Porto as well as Lisboa. Coimbra, the weather pattern that we seem to enjoy here. Another sort of muggy, cloudy day here of 29 degrees and 19 at the moment. Rain on its way for Thursday. And in Faro, actually, yes, when we looked at the week's weather, it was only yesterday, wasn't it? It seems like a long time ago. It's really weird. It's like Monday seems a long time ago, yet the weeks go by so quickly. I don't really understand how that works. I don't know if it's the same for you. Faro at the moment, 20 degrees and clear. Sounds like it's a beautiful morning in Faro down there in the south, in the Algarve, rising to 26, but cloud tomorrow. And then, like the rest of the country, rain is coming for a few days, although the temperatures remain very, very comfortable down there in Faro. A few hellos before we go to Ivan from Relish, or Relish is Ivan. Hi all from Nuno Mendes. Good morning to you, Nuno. Lovely to hear from you. I believe maybe we've seen you once or twice before, but a rare bird has landed on our virtual windowsill in the shape of Nuno. So good morning to you. Bon dia from Neil Perkins in the Alentejo. one of our wine ninjas, or vingers, we could be called, couldn't we? Morning. Oh, they're talking to each other. Okay. Pipe down now, everybody, in the comments. Actually, get ready in the comments for asking questions of Ivan. Hola, bon dia from sunny Southampton in the UK. Hope the sun is shining in Masas de Dona Maria. Doesn't the sun always shine in Masas de Dona Maria? I think you're going to find out from someone who lives there very soon. I had read that Gary Rose Austin as Gary Rose Austin. Yes, I know. Easy mistake to make. Bon dia from Will, who you all know, Will Thompson. Found out something about Will yesterday. It was absolutely fascinating. That's on my personal timeline if you're a friend of mine. Very open to being friended up on Facebook by members of the Good Morning Portugal community. Great way to stay in touch with each other. And yeah, a wonderful interview with Will Thompson. Not about COVID, funnily enough. Good morning, Carl. I'd like to send special thanks to Dave and Debbie in the UK for the recommendation of this week's wine at, the reconnaissance on this week's wine at Waitrose. Okay, so if you want to join us in the UK with this tasting of this very stylish bottle, look at that, isn't that a beauty? Alentano, it's actually playing havoc with my green screen, as things often do. You can get it in Waitrose, you posh folks in the UK. Valerie, good morning to you. Morning, everybody. Slung it down here on the coast this morning for about 10 minutes. I'm on the run again today. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you, Valerie. Have a great day to you. Hola bon dia todos from a warm and sunny Manchester. No rain for 5 days. Don't want any more. Claire and Steve. Yes, rain in Manchester, synonymous. Big weather front moving in, says Will. Always knows about the science behind things. Looks more ominous than usual. Doesn't everything, Will? A huge body of cold air coming down and pummeling into warm, wet air. This is the background. This is what's actually happening in the skies. What we call it rain. Will calls it a huge body of cold air coming down and pummeling into warm, wet air, likely to unload on us in Portugal rather severely for a day or so. Batten down the hatches is his advice a bit and get the rain catchers out. Get your garden watered for sure. And the reservoirs filled. We need that, don't we? Ana Rita Vieira, thank you for your company last night on the Portugal playlist. That's available for listen again. Really appreciate your company there, Anna, and all your encouragement. Joe Johnson, don't worry, Ivan, we'll get to you. Sorry, we've actually had 30 seconds rain shower in Massa de Dona Maria, the first in months. So there you go. There's your weather report. On the spot weather here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. And finally, for now, a worrying time for one of our Portuguese friends. Her daughter is a firefighter. Yeah, she was tackling that big fire from 6 a.m. yesterday, still there in the late evening. We are crossing everything and praying that people stay safe in that. I saw the pictures on the news last night. It's unbelievable. And it's not just in Portugal, is it? It's in the United States, in the Amazon at the moment. Bon dia from Judith McKenty. Good morning to you, Judith, a new name to the screen. So, good morning to you as well, Ivan Chmada. Ivan or Ivan?
Ivan.
Ivan. I'm so sorry. You've been hearing me mispronounce it all morning so far. I should have checked before.
Don't you worry. It happens all the time.
Oh, does it? Okay. All right. I feel a little bit better, but still a little bit rude. Sorry about that. Hello to you. Let's get this on the screen. Relish Portugal, your foodie friend in Portugal, specifically in Lisbon this morning.
I'm actually down in the Algarve today.
Are you? Lucky you. The best of Portugal's weather today. Tell us, Ivan, how did Relish Portugal begin? What's it all about?
Well, Relish Portugal is an English language food magazine for Portugal lovers everywhere. And it really started because I was looking for something like this when I moved here to Portugal, and I couldn't find anything. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to start it. So I did.
Yes, same here.
Yeah, right? See? Good Morning Portugal, and here you are.
I quite like something like this. So I guess at times you just have to go ahead and do it for yourself. Yes, so much to celebrate. Were you a bit surprised that there wasn't something like the thing you've created now so wonderfully?
I was, because Portugal is so well known now, or becoming more well known for the fabulous food scene here. Yeah. But I was surprised that we didn't have anything like it. I wasn't surprised that there are tons of what's on type of magazines. Yeah. Where to go eat, the chef, events, things like that happening. But this is really designed for somebody who loves to cook at home, entertain at home, and just kind of enjoy their own cuisine.
Yeah,
So
beautiful.
it's a little bit different than something that tells you what restaurants have special or whatnot. Is special chefs, fancy chefs here in Portugal. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
listen, I love that.
You can be the fancy chef.
Yes, that's the thing, and that's a lovely orientation because I mean we do live in the time of the celebrity chef, and that could be a bit sort of undermining to one's confidence, can't it? And this is great. You're really taking it to the home cooking, to the home kitchen. Take us through your publishing schedule. How does it work? What's in a particular issue? We've got one a kind of sample, I guess, on the screen there. Is that a mojito that we're looking at there?
That is a Porto Tonico.
Really,
So
what's that?
white port in tonic with a little bit of a lemon, orange, or lime, little citrus, and a mint, just right, a little piece of sprig of mint on the top. Don't you know a white port tonic?
No, I don't. I'm embarrassed now. I just assumed because of the what is it, hortela on the top there that was a mojito. But mojitos don't. Oh, they'd have a lime in, wouldn't they, rather than a lemon there? So I should have known. But that accompanies your packed schedule per edition. There's a lot goes into the magazine, right? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
It does. It does. Because we are an English language food magazine, we try to connect with expats. So we try to, like yourself, we try to have those that are in our magazine from somewhere else besides Portugal. Not that we don't also have people from Portugal in the magazine, but yeah, it's turned out to be a large publication. I was kind of surprised, but it's an online publication. So because I'm not in print, I can make it as long as I want. It's running typically about 50 pages.
Is it really?
It's crazy. And there's no advertising in it. So it is 50 pages of content. And Carl, it's content that I want to read.
Yeah.
It's not just, throwing out content there. It's something that I'm interested in. So we try to start the magazine out with a piece called Food for Thought, which is usually a food luminary, either here or in the United States, that just writes about their experience with Portugal, sometimes food, sometimes not. And that really sets the tone for the entire magazine. And we have things like not from around here, because let's face it, who doesn't need a good burrito once in a while?
Yes. Okay, fantastic. So all sorts of influences appealing directly to the taste buds, a balance of food and drink, presumably in there, and 50 pages, as it turns out. But it just gets better and better. You're not wading through. It's not like a free sheet where you're wading through loads of ads to get to the content. You've got 50 pages of pretty much all content to do with Portuguese food and drink and the other influences that you mentioned.
Exactly. And there's recipes. So I ask all of our contributors to provide not only their story, but a recipe as well. And it might not be the most authentic of that type of a recipe, but it's the recipe that they cook at home, right? So something that they would be preparing for their family or for their guests in their own cuisine. So I love that. I think it's the little sneak peek into how people eat and what they prepare.
And the reality of cooking at home, one angle on that is the music people listen to when they're preparing food. And I think some people feel themselves to be a bit like surgeons, right, who might put on Vivaldi or Mozart while they're doing an operation. Some of us, like wannabe chefs, put on some music as well to create the mood. What sort of things are people listening to? And you have suggested playlists as well, do you, for the kitchen?
Oh, we're so excited about that piece. And believe it or not, we listen to our playlist here at headquarters all the time, usually Sunday mornings when we're making blueberry pancakes. I think I've got a recipe for blueberry pancakes on our Facebook page, by the way. But every Sunday morning we turn on one of our playlists, and it is everything. It's crazy because it's everything from modern fado as well as classic, Amalia type of fado, to American rock, to Johnny Cash, to songs that are Spanish, or it's great. It's just a whole mix, and they're not all in English, which is kind of great for learning the language.
Yes, absolutely right.
Yeah, and they're fun. They're just fun. My husband is a musician, so he puts them together in kind of a nice flow. And then we usually pop in one or two of his songs.
Oh, excellent. And there he is on the screen there. That's the Relish team, right?
That's the Relish team.
And
Mighty, small
your,
but mighty.
your husband's name?
Ray.
Ray. Okay. So Ray and Ivan and Ivan, sorry. And get your free subscription to Relish Portugal here at relishportugal.com. There's also, which I found a lot of fun, the olive oil test, really, isn't it? The quiz. Take the quiz now, and you can find out your olive oil IQ. Can you tell us a little bit more about that without giving too much away?
Oh, sure. It's fun. It's just a really fun quiz. In fact, I'm going to put another quiz up. Oh, thank you, Owen. Thank you. I'm going to put another quiz up shortly. But it's, I don't know, 7 or 8 questions that we put together from one of our contributors, actually, in our first issue, LOA Olive World, that is located in Belém, if you need that, Blang. Blang, I don't know, that sounds so strange, but when you say Belém, they'll look at you like, what? It's Blang. Anyway, so what you do is you go through, you answer the questions. They're not too hard, but they're not too easy either. And then you can find out where you stand on a scale of, I think it's 1 to 10. And I think I saw that you are a superstar, Carl Munson.
I was a bit nervous about doing it because it's a bit like learning about wine here, and I've learned so much with a little bit of expert guidance. Learned so much about Portuguese wine, well, just wine generally, and how to appreciate it properly. And I realized there's a whole world of olive oil tasting as well, isn't there? It's not just a matter of I mean, the thing is, you know, for British people, they used to put olive oil in their ears until about 20 years ago. It was only something you could get from a chemist in England. And that was when you had an ear infection or something like that. Then it appeared in the supermarkets, and presumably the rest of the olive oil producing world just sent all the worst stuff, like normally happens. You know, the export market, apart from the premium end, you often get the floor sweepings or the leftovers that you. And understandably, the producers keep the best for themselves in their own. That's a very Portuguese thing, I think. And you know, I've discovered that there's a very rich and deep world of olive oil, which I also want to learn about, take that further. So I appreciate your quiz there and getting that going in me. And there are olive oil sommeliers, aren't there? It's an incredible world.
It is an incredible world, and so many different types of flavors on your tongue. It's crazy. Now, we come from, lastly, we lived in California, and we lived near Paso Robles, which is a big olive growing and olive oil region, also a wine region. Yeah. But we happen to be olive oil tasting, which is a thing. It's a thing here, but it's a big thing there. We were olive oil tasting, and the oil was great, and we enjoyed it very much. We were with some friends, and we said, thank you very much. We were done. We headed out to the car, and the fellow came running out, and he said, hey, wait, do you like dessert? We're like, well, yeah, we love desserts. He says, well, come in, I've got something for you. And he scooped up some premium vanilla ice cream, and on it, he put some kind of green, grassy olive oil. And really? I'll be doggone if it didn't taste like butterscotch.
Wow, okay.
Then he put a couple drops of really fine balsamic vinegar, and it was like a hot fudge.
Wow, and that's really beginning to sort of play with flavors, isn't it? And understand how food really works. That's incredible. So that's like a vanilla ice cream with a salad dressing on.
Well, you know, it with the balsamic vinegar, of course, is so sweet. But even just the green taste of the olive oil on the ice cream, I mean, it's just perfect. So there's so much to it. And you know what? When you're at home, you can try those things. You know, you don't have to, it's not as expensive here as in the States, but you don't have to take a chance on a €6 dessert. Maybe yes, maybe no. I mean, who knows? Maybe you would like a white balsamic vinegar on that instead of a deep, dark one.
I'm hoping people will try that this evening, and we'll find out how that goes. And Claire and Steve have subscribed, as you saw there. Owen has subscribed. We're getting people
Thank you.
Which is fantastic. And bon dia from Texas this morning from Carmen Souza. Olive oil ice cream. Someone who already knows about olive oil ice cream, but that's a new one on me, and something I will try after Thursday. Gary, who has been up to now known as Gary Rose Austin, wants to be known, or may well be known, as Gary the Red Austin. Sounds more politically right with Dobra.
Depends
Dobra.
on where you're from.
Yeah. Comrade Austin the Red, the motherland welcomes you. A nice political stereotype there. A comment here from Nuno, who's joined us this morning. The Portuguese food is a little bit heavy, but wonderful in capital letters. Is that your experience, Ivan? Which then leads us to some of your favorites. So tell us about what you've discovered here as well, but maybe answering that question about heaviness in Portuguese food.
Yeah. Nuno, I think you're right. It can be heavy, and I'm sure that you know better than anyone. Um, you know, it's like everything. You can find really heavy food. You can find light and refreshing food. We don't eat a lot of meat, so we are big fans of fish.
Yeah.
So we love that, and we find that the grilled fish is lighter. But then you have it with the potatoes and the vegetables, and it gets a little heavier. And of course, sauces. Oh, who doesn't love sauces?
Yeah.
You know, and those certainly add to it.
It might be the chips and rice combo that he's referring to as well. That's a lovely Portuguese thing that I really enjoy. So you have your sort of main attraction on the plate, which might be grilled fish, like you say, and then you have chips, and then you have rice, and then you have a salad with that. But that's not until you've had your soup to start and a dessert to finish with as well. So I mean, it's heavy from that point of view, isn't it? It's like an intense. This is lunchtime as well. We're not talking about dinner. That's what you have at lunchtime for about €6 or €7 around Portugal. It's amazing. Heavy in a good way. So personal favorites then, Ivan, for you and Ray.
Oh boy, we love Portuguese food.
Yeah.
And we love the fish. But don't think we don't cook other things here at home as well. We cook all kinds. We cook a lot of Asian food here at home. We make a great Thai curry. We don't really cook, now that I think of it, a lot of Portuguese at home. We make soups. I love the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Boy, the pumpkin is something that's so different. You go to the market and all the market stalls, the old women have these great big pumpkins, and it's like, oh, how much do you want? And they, hold their knife. I'm like, what do you do with that? I'll tell you what you do with that. Yeah. So I think their soups are fabulous.
Yes, that's a big part of Portuguese culinary culture, isn't it? The soup, for sure, the sopa. Yeah, amazing. And I guess, have you done the thing, the caldo verde, the shredded cabbage?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Have you, given that you do a little bit of Oriental cookery, have you done the seaweed thing with that and baked it in the oven and dehydrated it, a bit of soy sauce on that?
Oh no, you'll have to tell all.
Well, no, it's very simple. I think what is described as seaweed in a Chinese restaurant, but it's flavored cabbage as far as I can tell. And the caldo verde is exactly the thing. So you dehydrate it very slowly in the oven and season it. And then you've got your seaweed thing, which is completely vegan as well. Of course, which I don't know, does seaweed count as a vegan? Do vegans eat seaweed or not? Because it seems like a living thing to me. But anyway, perhaps. Yeah, it is a plant. It is a plant, absolutely. It's a sea plant, so we're okay there. Yes, that's kind of foxed us both, isn't it?
Yeah, is it a plant or is it's not algae, is it?
I don't know, but that would be all right too, wouldn't it? Vegans, please come to our aid here. That would be really helpful. Toasty mishta. That's an absolute classic, isn't it? Something that, I suppose most people from their country of origin would have had a cheese and ham toasty. But it seems different here, doesn't it? As does toast. I will not allow people to call torrada just toast because it's different and it's uniquely Portuguese.
Yeah, now we would call a tosta mista grilled cheese.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Grilled cheese, and that's something that your mom makes when you're not feeling well. You have a grilled cheese and maybe a cup of tomato soup, and you dip your sandwich in your soup. And life is good. But here it's like standard. You have that in a bowl of soup. My God, you eat well.
Yes, indeed. That's the heaviness there. Does a veggie burger from Mackie D's in Coimbra count as Portuguese food? Yes, I think it probably does. And that's what's happened with McDonald's. Having been to McDonald's in Portugal and seeing beer on the menu, that's what I love about the whole thing about Portuguese food is that they've made sure the Portuguese influences and culture is in the McDonald's menu, which is wonderful. Gary says Javoli, the wild boar. Have you tried that, Ivan?
No, I haven't. But I'm
Right.
interested in that. And I'm interested, Gary, in goat. Have you had goat kid, I guess they call it?
Well, that's Paul's favorite here, Chanfana de Cabrito, which I guess is the goat. That's the goat stew, isn't it? And I believe both the Javoli, the wild boar, and the Chanfana de Cabrito are these 24-hour dishes that are done in the the wood-fired oven or whatever, and slow cooked for a really long time until the meat is really tender and delicious. And Ty does say, after making the veggie burger comment from Mackie D's in Queenborough, maybe you can tell I'm not much of a foodie. Help is at hand from Relish Portugal.
Look, Ty, you eat, so you're a foodie. Why not, right? Now, my question is always, do you live to eat or do you eat to live?
Yeah.
What's the answer? Carl, what do you do?
Oh, my mother's Chinese, so that's a total sort of food culture, isn't it? And that's what I love. Again, that's for me has been completely transferable to Portugal. People live to eat here, don't they? Without a doubt, it's an integral part of the culture. The big lunch, the late dinner. Not so sure about the breakfast. What's the breakfast? A cup of coffee, but food is just life here, isn't it?
Right, it is. It is, and it's so wonderful. It brings people together, and it's something that is not so expensive that we can really all gather around a table, socially distanced right now, of course.
Yes, of course. And no more than 10 people. And if you're in a food court, no more than 4 people. It's completely bonkers, but we don't need to go into that right now. 3 years here, you're celebrating your 3rd anniversary of being in Portugal. I've got a feeling you're happy about that move. Would you care to tell us a little bit about your personal journey and to affirm that I'm right in my guess that you like it in Portugal?
Can you tell?
Yes, just about.
We have been here 3 years today. We're so excited. Yeah, and we love it. It has been a great move. We have absolutely zero regrets. It's wonderful doing the magazine, allows us to meet lots of really interesting people too, like yourself. Lets us take our passion for food and really explore what Portugal has to offer. So that's certainly helpful to us as far as being happy here. But, the people, it's everybody says, oh, the people are so nice. I mean it. The people are so kind, so kind. You'll find a young fellow helping an older lady across the street. I've even been asked, can you help me across the street? I can't see. As best as we can, in our broken English and Portuguese. Mine is much more broken than theirs. But, it's wonderful. It's just so much kindness. Country's beautiful. Food's great. People are delightful. Language is so-so.
Funny you should say that. And I have to completely agree with you with all that you said there. We do our best to help people learn the language here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream in the mornings. And we help with a little bit of vocabulary. Now, this could be a useful one for when you're out choosing food. And this is what happened to me last night. I was out with the Pingados. We're doing a bit of shopping, and it's a family experience for us sometimes, which we occasionally regret. But the 3 kids under 10 in Pingados, you can imagine the scene. I've got the kids while Mrs. M's doing a bit of shopping, and my son wants a cookie. So how I encourage him to learn the language is give him some money and make him go and ask for it, which may sound a bit harsh, but I think he's getting to grips with it. And whilst I'm sort of backing him up and going to his aid, I'm thinking, I'm asking for these 2 last cookies in the counter, and I'm wondering what Portuguese is for both. And apparently it's ambos here, but you might not say both. You would say the 2. That's right. You go for Deutsch rather than ambos. Pointing. That is the key. That's the sort of mainstay of our Portuguese communication, isn't it? Is our hands rather than what might come out of our mouths. But so that for you there, and open to a challenge from Portuguese people and a little bit of help from you Portuguese people. on the context here. Do we say both, as in ambos, or does that refer to something entirely different? And is that going to help us make a cultural faux pas? Is it the Deutsch, or what? How would we say those two in the cabinet there? So there's a little bit of something to think about there, and a little bit of vocabulary, and we'll find out how to correctly use ambos somewhere else. When we were talking earlier on, this was a nice fact about Portuguese food. You'd had your coffee today. You're on to the tea by way of some sort of tribute to the British interview. There it is. You have Azorian tea in there. Is that right? Tea grows in Portugal.
I do. There are 2 tea plantations in Europe, and they are both in Ponta Delgada in San Miguel, the Azores. And when you go, and I highly recommend you go, it is just spectacularly beautiful. Ponta Delgada is kind of the main city of the Azores. Of course, there's Terceira, so maybe the main city in that area of the Azores. And even so, it is just so naturally gobsmacking. We would pack a picnic in the morning, get in our car with no plan, because anywhere you go is a beautiful picnic spot. And I mean, even pulled off the street, just really spectacular. But you can visit both of these tea plantations. I'll show you. I've got the package. Goriana is the one that we visited.
Okay.
And they grow all sorts of tea. Let's see if I can get that for you. There you go. That.
There it is.
There it is. That's better. Ha! Yeah. Anyways, they grow green tea and they grow other types of tea, and you can go in and drink all the tea you want out of their little containers. They've got snacks and you can see how it's grown. They've got films. You can walk in the fields, and they are they're kind of platformed fields. So they're just spectacular to look at. Green, and the rows aren't straight. The rows kind of vacillate a little bit.
They're beautiful. Because when I've seen pictures of the Azores, I thought that looks like China. And so we perhaps don't have to go all the way to China. And maybe the Portuguese expression is all the tea in the Azores, maybe, rather than all the tea in China, as we say.
Yeah, maybe.
So you'd recommend a trip there. I mean, the list of things to do in Portugal, it's longer and longer by the day, but definitely a trip to the Azores, you think?
Absolutely, a trip to the Azores. And there's just, you can have tea, there's just beauty everywhere, great food. They have, in the Azores, they have this thing called the Happy Cow program.
Okay.
And they are super proud of taking care of the cows. The cows are, the cows are gorgeous, and they're on this beautiful green spot overlooking the ocean. And if you were a cow on this beautiful green field overlooking the ocean, you would be a happy cow too.
And that's a good reason to buy the butter from there then. The origins of which are happy cows looking out to see it on the Azores.
Happy cows make happy milk, makes happy food. And some of them are happy, but they don't know they shouldn't be happy because they're going to be a steak.
Yes, indeed. But I think, and we've talked about this before, and we've got some comments here about, the conservation angles on food, which are very important, I think. And, for those people who eat meat, I think eating less is good. And that idea of, the one bad day for the animal rather than a factory farmed life of hell. But that's a conversation that I'm sure will run and run. Ty says, I'm sure we'll have something to say about that. Eating is a fuel stop for me, but the local culture may start rubbing off on me. Absolutely, I think it will, Ty. Will says, being a conservationist, sorry, his comments blocking out the whole screen for a minute here. Being a conservationist and 95% vegetarian, I'd like to be able to strongly argue for veganism for many reasons. However, our landscapes have adapted to semi-natural agriculture for so long. If not wild animals, then non-intensive animal agriculture, homesteading, chickens, goats, etc., may be vital to Portugal's future. This is the restoration or restorative farming, isn't it? Especially regarding soil nutrient input and wildfire land management. The intensive stuff does not need to go, though. I'll say the intensive stuff does need to go, though, and soon. Totally agree with you. The factory farming is pretty grim, and you can tell, can't you, with the sort of the aforementioned Tostamista, it's likely to be a factory farmed dairy and ham combo in there, isn't it? And I would love to see some change on that. He also adds, As for fish, the orcas are getting so hungry they have started attacking boats. We should be careful not to upset the killer whales. So do you have a view on that, Ivan, about the how we might approach meat eating? You say yourself, you eat more fish than meat.
Mm-hmm. It's very different over here.
Yeah.
It's very different. And I think that if you want to make a difference, you look for the small farms, you look for the small farm producers, you look for the happy cow certification on beef that you can get from the Azores, where exactly it's one bad day instead of a lifetime of horribleness.
Yes.
Where it's certified grass-fed, outdoor beef. Chickens are kind of interesting too, right? So you go to the markets and everybody at a market stand, they're selling eggs and eggs that are hatched by their chickens at home. And I think a lot of us, perhaps you have chickens,
yes,
or there are chickens in the neighborhood, right? Yeah. So I think it's really a personal choice, though. I'm all for the more natural type of meat eating or raising these kinds of animals. Factory farming, again, is horrible.
Yeah, I don't think we can continue on that trajectory, can we? For all sorts of reasons. Ty says, I'm hoping to get hens at some point. Some hens destined for dog food, who are no longer profitable as layers. I imagine that will occur soon. I mean, it was a big thing in the UK where I'm from to have rescue chickens. He's not sure about happy cows. Gary Ost, most of the tea sold in Iberia is a bit fortnight for me. I don't know if that's a dad joke he's making there that I don't get, or it's a typo or an autocorrect. But tell us more, Gary, about that. And yeah, here's another thing with food. Good morning, Carl. Not only eating less, but there is far too much food waste. That is the worst part. Yeah, and I think actually I've seen some very good things or people trying in Lisbon, certainly, to avoid food waste and get it to people who are hungry. It's doable now, isn't it? With the Internet of Things and the technology we've got. I think people are addressing this.
Our last issue, we had an interview with Fruta Feia, Ugly Fruit. And
yeah.
Do you know Ugly Fruit?
No, go on.
Oh, they're fantastic. It's an organization. They're in Lisbon, but I think that they've got locations throughout the country. Not a lot, but some. Yeah. And what they do is they work with farmers who have fruit that might not be the most beautiful fruit, might not meet the AAA class of fruit that we might look for in a grocery store. But it is still delicious. Yeah, it's just as healthy, maybe even more delicious because it's kind of funny looking. And it's not ugly. It's beautiful. And what they do is they rescue, so to speak, or work with these farmers to provide baskets to their subscribers, a small basket or a large basket of whatever happens to be in season. And Carl, we should talk about seasonality also.
Go on, please do.
So it's wonderful. So you go to one of their pickup locations on the specified day, and for €3.50, you get a basket of, it's like 4 kilos of whatever's fresh.
Wow.
And you bring it home, and it is fantastic. And their whole thing is food waste. Their farmers would say, these things, they're not very beautiful. They're dropping on the ground, and they're wasting.
Yeah.
Really wasting. What a shame that is. So that's kind of interesting. Now, seasonality, right? It's fig season right now. It's the end of fig season. I don't know about you, but I'm eating as many figs as I can possibly hold. I go to the market. They were €2 a couple weeks ago. They were €4. Now they're €5 a kilo. I don't care. I am buying every time I see them and eating them.
And I think that's another thing in Portugal's favour, isn't it? You do get a sense of the seasonality. You're not just in a supermarket faced with produce from all over the world. Where Mag's absolutely right, isn't it? The problem with that is these things being flown from hither and thither, only to perish if they're not bought. I get a sense that people are in tune with eating seasonally here in Portugal. And obviously, globalization, all the rest of it, people's heads get turned, don't they, with what's going on in the supermarkets. But I do think that people are in tune. And it's not just about our palates, isn't it, and our desires. It's good for our bodies, I think, to eat seasonally because, we've got vitamin C coming through now, haven't we, which is going to see us through the winter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it isn't that you can't find mostly everything you want in the grocery store. If you hunt around for it, you
Yeah.
can.
Yes.
But it's such a pleasure to see what's seasonal and as the season turns and try the different things. Yeah, it is. It is the key to good health.
Yeah.
Owen,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fun and it's a challenge and it's real.
It's real. And as you mentioned before, the markets, that's the place to go, isn't it? See what's coming up out the ground from a couple of days before or even that morning. And you're absolutely right, Owen. Seasonality is the key to good health. My goodness, I've seen the time, Ivan. It probably kept you too long this morning. Your tea's going cold. On that matter, Gary says, yes, the tea sold in Iberia, we now have decoded this fortnight to week, obviously. So he finds Iberian tea 2 week. That's a very that's a very British position. Take your point, absolutely, Mag, about food waste, and I think people are working on that. I think generally our food consciousness is really raising and growing, and that's thanks to publications like Relish here, because I know you talk about that and you're aware of that. Ivan, if you could help us with this question. Bon dia from Janny in Belgium this morning. A question about eating fish. I've not seen river eel or trout on the menu in any restaurant, yet there are so many rivers in the centre of Portugal. What's that about? Do we know the answer to that?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can say that you go to a fish market, especially the great fish market in Stubble.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you been there, Carl?
I haven't seen that one, no.
Oh, it might be, sorry, everybody, it might be one of the best fish markets in Portugal.
And there she goes, throwing in a controversial statement just at the end of the interview.
It's really pretty spectacular. But you see the women working on the eels or, the little slithery things. And it's kind of like, oh, they're alive and then they're not.
Okay, so all of life was there rather than is there in many ways. But yeah, that sounds like another thing to put on the list. If your constitution is up to it, the best fish market in Portugal.
Absolutely. And it's a fish and fruit market. And it's big and it's beautiful. And if you eat bafanas, does anybody here eat bafanas? Yeah, we love bafanas. There's a place that what are they, like $2, $1.80 or something like that. And they make them and you stand at the counter. We happened to be there for my husband's birthday a couple years ago. And he's like, yeah, I want bafana. So we go in and we start talking to the people behind the counter in our best broken, again, Portuguese and English. And they find out it's his birthday. And then everybody has to have a shot of Giginha, celebrate. And then everybody wants to gather around us and get their picture taken with the birthday boy. I mean,
tremendous.
Honestly, how tremendous. Amazing.
Yes, indeed. Janny, try asking for river fish, or as Ivan and I were doing earlier on, gesturing. I'd love to see the gesturing for an eel, for people doing that at a fish market. That'd be hilarious. It'd always be like that scene from Pulp Fiction, wouldn't it? Okay, Ivan, you've been so kind and generous with your time. Could you whet our appetites, tickle our taste buds for the next edition, and remind people how to sign up again?
Absolutely. So the magazine comes out quarterly. The next issue comes out on October 7th. So really, that's just a few weeks from now. Okay. We are going to be talking about sweet potatoes, batata doce, of course. We're going to be talking about Syrian and Middle Eastern refugees with Pau of Pau, and they are behind Mesa restaurant that is in Lisboa. So that's really neat. We'll talk a little bit about pilgrimages. And of course, it's Christmas, so we'll have some bacalhau. Bacalhau, 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 lau, lau.
I don't know that classic. Is that one of Ray's tunes? Or that's something you guys sing in the kitchen, right?
That's the Italian song Bella Ciao.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. Okay. Well, that needs a reinterpretation in time for Christmas, doesn't it? So that everyone can buy it. As a Christmas gift.
That's our, and you know what? The other thing that we're going to have in there is in the My Town section, the one that you were kind enough to be in on our last issue, which was really fascinating. Plus your amazing coconut banana ice cream.
Oh yes.
And your song, Copacabana, which plays in my house all the time. We'll have Susan Cortese from American and Friends Portugal Facebook page, who helps lots of Americans figure out how to get their D7 visas and move over here.
Brilliant. That sounds fun. And how do we get hold of? Make sure we get a copy.
Sure, absolutely. Visit our website, relishportugal.com, and subscribe. It's free. All you need to do is give us your email address. We always hold that confidential. We do not sell it to anybody, so you don't have to worry about that. You hear from us once in a while, not as much as you probably should, considering. But we send it right out to your email address. And in addition to the magazine, we also have a little guide, the 5 tips to shopping like a local. We're going to do something different coming up probably next year as a little bonus. But yeah, and then you can access all of the magazines from there as well, all of our issues. It's only 3. This will be our 4th. But
wonderful. You're doing a great job. Congratulations on your 3rd year anniversary being in Portugal. Relishportugal.com is where to go for that. Evan, thank you so much, and love to Ray as well.
Well, Carl, thank you. Love to Mrs. M, and happy anniversary to you too. It's coming up.
2 or 3 days time, I believe. Yes, our 3rd year here in Portugal. Just like, yes, cheers. I'll hold up this bottle of red here in anticipation. Cheers, fantastic. And yeah, a lovely a comment just to finish that. Just so you know, Carmen says, "So glad I found y'all this morning." She was in Texas, I believe, wasn't she? So thank you, Carmen, for that lovely bit of feedback. And I think I'm going to leave it there this morning. I was going to talk about no-knead bread. But I'm going to leave that till tomorrow, and we'll talk more about our wine selection, organic red, and following on from our sustainability conversation. So thanks, everyone, for joining us this morning. Thanks for your questions and comments. And I'll be on tonight with the Portugal News Hour from 10 o'clock on Good Evening Portugal. And look forward to having your company then, or in the morning. So, teja, próxima. How do you say goodbye, Evan?
Well, ciao, ciao.
That's short and sweet and perfect. Take care. Bye for now, everybody.